Is it the aftermath of Megxit? Queen's alarming photos make us nervous. Buckingham Palace has released a new image of the Queen at a recent engagement, and her changed appearance is nothing short of alarming. Hello and a very warm welcome to the Sussex Daily News channel. Whatever people might say about Her Majesty the Queen, she is hardly a woman who's prone to shocking anyone. The Queen's never been in the news for having an affair with her supposed horse riding instructor. She's never holidayed in the south of France and gone without a bikini top. She's never been photographed with no clothes on. She's never fallen for a staff member while she was still married. And she's also never gone to Las Vegas and gone on a bender and ended up playing strip billiards with a bunch of blonde strangers. But on Thursday, there was a new photo of the 96-year-old released, and it is nothing short of shocking. So on paper, you can see the photo showing the monarch meeting with the New South Wales Governor Margaret Beazley. And it's par for the very boring course. It was taken in the Oak Room at Windsor Castle, and that's where the Queen now lives full-time. And it looks about like the other 6,700 photos that Buckingham Palace puts out. Her Majesty's wearing her signature pearls, and she's got a cheerful floral number. She's greeting some dignitary who's offering up a slightly wobbly curtsy or perhaps a stiff bow. But what is very noticeable here is Her Majesty's very concerning appearance. If you just look at Thursday's shot of the Queen and then compare it to a photo that was taken nearly exactly a year ago when the Prime Minister Scott Morrison went to visit, you can see the difference, and it is startling. In the 12 months that's passed, Her Majesty would seem to have become markedly more stooped. She's a lot thinner, and overall she seems to have shrunk. For years now, the Queen seemed to have achieved the impossible. She didn't seem to age at all. She was like some kind of Dorian Gray-esque sovereign. There are photos of her driving all over the place, riding her horses on her various estates, and undertaking engagements without any sort of help needed. So basically, age didn't seem to be playing fair when it came to the Queen. As recently as 2020, the palace allowed a photographer to capture her clip-clopping around Windsor on one of her favorite ponies at age 94. Perhaps it was all the organic salmon that she likes to eat, caught on her very own Scottish estate. Whatever her secret is, the Queen seemed to have the vigor of a woman who was decades younger. In fact, it would have been believable that maybe she could surpass the Queen Mother, who made it to an amazing 101 years of age. And the Queen Mother, in the last year of her life, visited an aircraft carrier at Portsmouth, and she continued to have house parties. Even the death of Her Majesty's strength and stay Prince Philip in April of last year may have been personally devastating, but it really didn't seem to take any kind of physical toll on her. In May, the Queen opened Parliament, and then in June, she hosted U.S. President Joe Biden and his wife, Dr. Jill Biden. She went to a miniature version of Trooping the Color, and she went along to the G7 summit as well. And then that same month, later on, she was off to Scotland. She met with First Minister Nicola Sturgeon. She confidently trotted through the woods during an official engagement too. And then it was time for Royal Ascot. There, the Queen looked a lot happier than we normally get to see her. In July, we saw the return of the Windsor Horse Show. That was Her Majesty's own personal nirvana, and she went on multiple days. She even drove herself there one day. She had that pink lipstick right in place. On all of these, it's noteworthy that while she was hardly setting any land speed records, she was walking without any help, and she looked confident. She looked very agile in spite of her advanced age. And then in August, the Queen went to Balmoral for her usual lengthy tartan-clad break. There were reports that she had taken her 4 Tyndall and Philip's great-granddaughters along on a picnic. And then in September, she was back to work, and the palace made the announcement that she was set for a jam-packed, busy October. She opened the Scottish Parliament, and then later that same month, she did the honors by opening the Welsh Parliament. And then she turned up at Westminster Abbey with Princess Anne, and for the first time she had appeared since she had knee surgery in 2003 with a walking stick. But still, she managed 16 official engagements that month alone. And after finding out that Oldie magazine was looking to name her Oldie of the Year, she politely but firmly turned that award down. She said, "You are only as old as you feel." On October 19th, she hosted a ton of billionaires and tech moguls at a reception for an investment summit at Windsor Castle. She spent more than an hour on her feet that day. The Times reports, before her guests arrived, the Queen and her closest aides had agreed on a secret sign to whisk her away from the reception if she felt like she was fading, but the coded signal was not needed. And then after that, this energetic streak came to a very dramatic halt. First, we learned that she would not be undertaking a 2-day tour of Northern Ireland, and she was looking to take it a bit easy for 2 weeks. That's on doctor's orders. And then it was announced that the Queen was pulling out of the COP26 climate conference. Mysteriously, she was also hospitalized that month overnight. That's an event which the palace has tried their best to keep under wraps. And nearly every month since then, Her Majesty has been bowing out of previously non-negotiable events. In November, she had to cancel watching the ceremony at the cenotaph on Remembrance Day. In December, she wasn't able to appear at church alongside her family on Christmas Day. And then in February, she got COVID, which forced her to cancel the annual diplomatic reception. And then in March, she had to pull out of the Commonwealth Day service. And in April, she had to ask Charles to take over official duties on Maundy Thursday. So May rolled around, and for the first time in nearly 60 years, Her Majesty delegated the state opening of Parliament to Charles. Prince William served as his sidekick. And after that, it was announced that Her Majesty would not be able to attend any of the Buckingham Palace garden parties. And when the Platinum Jubilee festivities began, Her Majesty didn't show up at the service of Thanksgiving for her reign at St. Paul's Cathedral. Only last week, we passed another milestone, and not a happy one. The Queen wasn't able to make it once to Royal Ascot. That was breaking a 70-year attendance streak. There have also been reports out saying that Her Majesty has given up her nightly drink. She's no longer riding horses, and she hasn't been driving for the better part of a year. And it seems like her mysterious health woes, whatever they are, have become a lot worse. In October, we first saw her with a walking stick, but she only had to use it at certain points. But by June of this year, her episodic mobility problems have become so bad that we only got to see Her Majesty for a grand total of 27 minutes across the 4 days of her Platinum Jubilee celebrations. In 2021, Chancellor Rishi Sunak announced that $49.5 million would be set aside for the Jubilee. So that works out as it cost British taxpayers $1.8 million for every minute they got to see the Queen on the balcony of Buckingham Palace. And a lot of people are wondering, how did things deteriorate so quickly? How in just a year we have watched the Queen go from riding horses, walking her dogs by herself, driving her Range Rovers around, to now reportedly she has to use a wheelchair sometimes. Earlier this year, it was reported that Craigowend Lodge, that's a cottage on the Balmoral estate where she stays twice a year, has now had to be fitted with a wheelchair-friendly lift. So Thursday's photo demonstrates that Her Majesty would seem to be fading away before our very eyes. But still, Buckingham Palace is trying to stick to their increasingly tired nothing to see here line. Now, to be fair, it is a tricky spot for those aides. It's not like they can come out and offer the press a running commentary on whatever may be ailing her. It's not like they can offer up any kind of detailed rundown about whatever problems have caused her latest cancellation. And Her Majesty is like the rest of us. She deserves dignity and privacy at a time like this. So how are courtiers going to maintain a degree of public visibility of the Queen? That would mean regularly putting out images of the sovereign. And how are they going to do that without causing panic in people when she appears to be noticeably frailer? How are they going to balance the needs of Her Majesty as a human versus the needs of the institution that she's the head of? And this current dilemma is not helping the monarchy. One consequence that came for both the Prince Andrew scandal and the Megxit crisis is that the palace has in part come across as looking squirrely and a bit too secretive. And for that reason, the firm cannot afford to get the handling of this situation wrong at all. And this little situation is only going to become more of a pressing issue as time marches on. The palace has got to find a way of at least trying to balance all of these competing needs. But there is a silver lining. And the silver lining is that the Queen seems to be in excellent spirits as the countdown begins for her annual Scottish summer break. Perhaps someone is excited about eating some more of that delicious salmon. My news today has ended. What do you think about the Queen's health? Please continue to discuss her with us below in the comments section. If you preferred my video today, please like and share it with anyone else who would enjoy it. And don't be afraid to subscribe to the Sussex Daily News YouTube channel to get more videos in the future. Now, thank you so much for tuning in. Goodbye, and I'll be back to see you all in the next videos.